yeah, we went head-to-head a couple of times. Some of our best work was when we weren't even speaking to each other.
Right.
Somebody posted online. I mean, it really was. It just happened this morning, and when I reposted, it was the piano scene. That's a scene where it works beautifully. Harold Ramis said, "Come over here and sit down." I said, "Why? We've been in this house for 2 days. My makeup in South Florida is just pouring off my face. They're just touching it up. What do you need from me now? Just sit down," he says. Harold says, "and say to Chevy, sing me a love song." I said, "Fine." So I sit down, and it's tequila, and I'm like, these guys are we're on my last nerve. And I say, "Sing me a love song." And Chevy launches into "I Was Born to Love You." And look at the look in my eye. No rehearsal, certainly not in the script. No. And I look, and out of the corner of my right eye, the damn camera light's on. They're filming this. You sons of God. You're just, all right, I'll play. And he launches into that song, and that was it. Some places where we went head-to-head where we weren't speaking was during the oil massage scene. Lots of heat, South Florida, love scenes, which are not wonderful to begin with. And Chevy's poking me and saying a few things, and I poked him back and had a few things of my own to say. And he said, "Apologize." I said, "Nope." Harold Ramis said, "Apologize." I said, "You heard what he said." And there was about a 45-minute standoff, and Chevy came back and said, "I'm going to shoot 2 masters." And that was the oil massage scene, where he's behind me doing the oil massage and dumps an entire bottle of oil on my back.
Right.
Now look at the look in my eye again. You know, I'm going, "You're not blowing me off this screen. Not by a long shot." So we just continued, and that happened to be some of our best work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how was I mean, 'cause I heard you. I read where a story where you had talked about talking to Rodney about how he was nervous on the show. But I mean, are there any other stories? Because this seems like a very loose show, right? I mean, I'm sure.
Loose. I mean, you would come home from the party and roll through hair, or wake up, depending on where you were, and roll through hair, makeup, and wardrobe, which was right in the same building.
Sure.
And show up on the set. The script was not even a guideline at that point. It was just show up on the set and go, "Okay, what are we doing today?" So we would break for lunch whenever, wherever, and at one of these lunches, I was sitting near the clubhouse, and I remember it was just Rodney and I having some lunch, and anybody, I know millions of people who would love to have been at that table.
Right.
Because there's Rodney tugging on his collar, you know, nervous, sweating, you know, just like he's always seen him, and saying, "Am I okay? Am I okay? It's my first movie." And I said, "Rodney, you're stealing it." And he did.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would let an emotional aspect of his personality come through. I don't know.
Oh, comedians are very, very, he's a stand-up comic, very much so. And this was his comeback job. He had been supporting his family by selling aluminum siding previous to this.
Oh, wow.
So this was very, very important to him.
Sure.
And what was making him nervous primarily was that nobody was laughing, because you don't laugh on a set, whereas he's used to the timing. Comedy is like music. And in the nightclubs where he's used to performing stand-up, he's used that laughter helps him time his jokes. So when he was on the set, there was no laughter, because that's not what people do.
Right.
So you don't. People go, "How can you not laugh?" You just don't. If you're in the scene doing your job, you're not laughing. You're thinking about what your goal is in that scene. And I think the groups were so bored with us. Well, the crew was like, "Whatever, they're idiots."
So before we talk about Tron, I wanted to ask you about the Midnight Hour.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. But what a crazy, wacky juxtaposition of concepts.
Yes.
An ABC movie of the week, horror musical, where I play the substitute teacher turned vampire, spoiler alert, at the end of the film.
That's right.
With LeVar Burton and Sherry Belafonte and Peter DeLuise and lots and lots of, and it's just silly as hell, and it was fun and silly and great to do. I wish it got out. It's just so darn silly. I wish it was aired more.
Did you? I have to. I'm trying to recall, but did you have anything to do with the Get Dead dance sequence?
Do you think I had anything to do with that?
No, I don't mean.
I was in it.
I mean, yeah. Are you in it? That's what I meant.
Oh yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it in the back of there. Oh yeah, that was just post Chiller, so that sort of made sense. at the time.
How long did it take to do that sequence?
Probably a day.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Because probably day 2 at the most, because just that shot down the stairs didn't get covered from too many angles, and then down there was I was dancing with Peter DeLuise down on the floor.
Sure.
That didn't take. Sure. The one funny thing about it was at the end, spoiler alert, I turned vampire and I end up on a stake on a bush at the end.
Yes.
And this was an all-night shoot, exterior, outside. I'm in this bent over backwards on this so-called stake for hours. And when they call wrap when the sun comes up, everybody splits on location and leaves me there on this bush. And I have to peel myself off of it. I'm stiff as hell. And I've got all this white face and the blood coming down. And, of course, I removed the fake fangs and stuck them in my bag. And I'm like, all right, just driving myself down the 405 freeway, hoping not to get stuck by a cop. And I get home, and I lived in the Hollywood Hills at the time. And as I get in, my little cat, Godzilla, sneaks out of the house. So I'm walking around with this white face and the blood down my fangs, from my fangs, going, Godzilla, Godzilla, and I'm calling my cat. And I run smack into my landlords, who just looked at me and went, okay. And I just start backing off. And I went, no, I was working last night. I was shooting a film. And they're like, fine, whatever, we got to go now. They run. So don't name your cat anything cute, and try to get the blood off your face before you go call him.
Do you encounter fans of Midnight Hour often?
What's that? Do
you encounter fans of Midnight Hour often?
There are some. There are some. I do hear it once in a while, and they're usually fans of one or other of the actors.
Gotcha.
But most people don't know. I loved doing that film. I had a lot of fun with that.
It's a very interesting film.
Yeah, no, I really had a good time with that.
Yeah. And then, so, the character, the Miss Jensen character, right, in Midnight Hour is, again, sort of this, hot for teacher thing going on, and you have the sexualized character, Lacey. So, as an actress, how do you, do you struggle with that?
No, I think it's hilarious. I can't figure out what the hell they're thinking about, because that's not how I really see myself, but I'm like,
sure.
Okay, if that's what you want, it's going to take 2 hours in makeup and hair, but okay, let's do it.
Right.
I think if you play hot, I think you're losing it. It doesn't work. But if you just are the character because of the makeup and hair on the lines, and it works a lot better.
Right.
But I don't give it a lot of thought. Okay. I really don't.
And then what about, because I'm a huge fan of, and in particular, I really love this episode because I'm a huge fan of Carol Burnett's show and the episode of Amazing Sports Stories that was written by Gail and Kevin Parent. What was that whole thing
was he one of her guys?
Gail and Kevin were writers on Carol Burnett, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And they were writers on this?
Yeah, they wrote that
Hell to Pay.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, that was so funny. And that is the only time I got to get cast as the dumb blonde, which is really hard to do because it's all in the eyes. I mean,
sure.
If you're reading, I'll tell you how it worked. I came in for an audition for Irwin Kershner, and he's oh my God. 2 people in my whole life I think have ever directed me, Harold Ramis and Irwin Kershner. Everybody else, they would say stuff, and I'd say, whatever, and I just go do what I want to do.
Right.
But these 2 guys were awesome. And Irwin Kershner said, he was describing the character, and I went, what? And he said, stop right there. And he took out, as I was saying, what? He took out a Polaroid and took a Polaroid of me going, what? And he goes, that's it. That's the character. And I did my best to not directly channel, is it Judy Holliday, but there was a lot of Judy Holliday in that.
Yeah. I was thinking that actually. It's funny because I interviewed Nancy Allen a long time ago, and she actually said that Irvin Kershner was a bastard.
Oh, he was a bastard?
Yeah.
Well, we got along fine. In fact, at the end, he said, kid, you got a great career. He was charming and wonderful. I had the best experience with him.
Cool. Was Spielberg on the set?
If he was, I didn't know it.
No. Okay.
And to tell you the truth, in all honesty, when you're on the set and you're doing your job, if you can see anybody else on that set, you're not doing your job.
Right.
You better be looking at what you're supposed to be looking. I'm not a method actor, but I try to I'm very focused on where I'm supposed to be looking and what I'm supposed to be doing because because there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of people, and if you let any of that get in, it's hard to do your job.
Yeah. And then so I watched this film yesterday, and I had not seen it. It's called Galaxis.
Oh yes,
And,
that was an independent film I did. Well, I played a cop, and the cool thing about Galaxis is it really never went anywhere, but at the screening, when I got killed, the whole audience was really upset.
Well,
so I guess I did my job well.
I thought it was particularly relevant because you share a screen credit with Sam Raimi.
I know. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I was all excited as I'm watching. I'm like, whoa, Sam's really got a big part, and then he dies at 13-minute mark, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. So
did you get to spend much time with Brigitte?
Yeah, actually, just a little bit here and there. She was very sweet, very nice to work with. I've seen actresses who were like two cats in a cage. Hi, hope you do well. You too. Yeah, sure. Brigitte was not like that at all. She was fine.
Sure. And then we'll nail the coffin. We'll put the nail in the coffin, and how Tron came to.
Well, Tron, there's no nail in that coffin. That was kind of cool. I didn't work for a long time after Caddyshack until Disney came calling.
Right.
Now, why Disney would call after Caddyshack, I found a little confusing, a little head scratcher, but I never let the facts get in my way. So I found out much later that before Caddyshack, I was in a comedy improv class, Harvey Lembeck's.
Yes.
And in one of the classes, I was dating one of the guys, one of the classes, and he took me to a lunch about something he was doing, which was some cartoon, and it was at the Chronicle in Venice Beach, California. And we were eating lunch, and I'm listening, and whatever. About 18 months later, I get a call to go to Disney Studio, not to the casting director's office, but to the director's office to meet with him and Jeff Bridges and be put on tape, right on tape. And I'm like, that's a couple of jumps, but okay. And I don't know if you've seen the script or heard the lines, but what the hell do I do with this? But okay, so we did whatever, and I got the job. Apparently, it was down to me and Debbie Harry. The director really had that lunch from a year and a half ago was Tron. The guy I was dating had the job. Year and a half later, he's out, I'm in, and he never. Much later, I said, "Was that Tron?" And he said, "Yes." And I never took another actress to lunch again. I didn't know because it was no longer a cartoon; it was an animated feature, first CGI film ever made. It sounded like a whole different animal.
Right.
So, it was very different. If you could use the word work process in relation to Caddyshack, totally different thing.
How did you wrap your head around the concept, though, when you first heard about it? I mean, was it something that was difficult to understand?
Well, playing the character in the computer world I played myself is pretty much in the real world, but in the other world, I had to make some choices because there was nothing to go back to, nothing, no frame of reference for this. So I figured if I were to have created a program and it had two-dimensional memories of me and a two-dimensional personality of mine, it would have some of my memories, some of my tendencies, some of my thoughts, but would be kind of childlike because of lack of experience. And that's all I had to work with. That's it. I found out later that Bruce had the same sort of thing, but it was pretty tough. And there are lines that I still just want to die every time I hear them. I remember saying to the director, "I can't say this line. It's really stupid. I'm not going to say this." If the director is the writer, probably not a good argument to make.
Yeah.
Don't tell it. Their line was, "Oh, Tron, I knew there wasn't a circuit built that could hold you." The audience still laughed because I did not commit to that. I choked on the line.
Sure.
Had I committed to the line and somehow made myself believe it, I could have pulled it off. But you can hear me going,
Well, it's funny. I talked to Dan Shore a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And he had told me about Steve, about how Steve directs.
Yes.
About it. There wasn't a heck of a lot of motivation there, really, in terms of how he was directing you guys.
No, go here, go there, hit this mark. Pretty much is all you got.
Yeah, look over there, duck.
Yeah. And hitting marks was very difficult because everything was black and there were no marks. You had to backstep into the mark.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. But I tell you, I do love your pink Angora outfit, though. That's pretty.
They
iconic.
made that. That actually has a little story behind it. Disney could make anything. The wardrobe departments in studios like that are just astonishing. I remember when I was getting fitted for the Yori costume, I remember saying, "Gee, they did some contouring, shall we say, of the costume." And I said, "Really? Disney does this kind of thing?" She said, "Oh, honey, let me take you over to the guy's side." so I said, "Okay, I get it." And one day she said, "What's your favorite color?" And I had a shirt on, and I said, I like this color." And they wove an entire sweater out of that color.
Wow.